Discover 10 incredible medieval myths that will change your understanding forever. In the little town of Maplewood, winter wrapped everything in a cold embrace. Sarah, a single mother of two, felt like she was plodding through a marsh, each day heavier than the last. Her husband had disappeared without a trace, an abrupt end to their shared dreams. Juggling multiple jobs, she often found herself running on fumes, her spirit dimming under the weight of her responsibility, as if the sun had set on her once vibrant existence. But one chilling evening, while sifting through her late grandmother's attic, she stumbled upon something that promised to reignite a spark, a dusty, leather-bound journal, filled with the medieval myths and legends that had long been forgotten. As Sarah opened the journal, she could almost feel the stories leap off the yellowed pages. They spoke of knights and dragons, of love that transcends the ages and sacrifice that changes the fate of worlds. She read of heroes overcoming insurmountable odds, finding hope in despair, and the bonds of family being tested but remaining unbroken. Ben, her 10-year-old son, peeked over her shoulder, curiosity sparkling in his brown eyes, while little Lily, just 8, nestled beside them, tugging her mother's sleeve. "What is it, Mom?" she asked, face alight with wonder. "Legends from the past, honey. They tell us about brave knights and fierce love. It's like magic." Sarah's heart stirred at the gleam of hope in their eyes. Each night, they gathered for storytelling, the journal becoming their treasure. Images of valor danced in their minds, warming the chill that wrapped around them like a shroud. The legends began to heal them, weaving a connection that had been lost in the chaos of their lives. But whispering winds of Maplewood carried the scent of discord. While Sarah envisioned a town-wide storytelling night, believing it could bring everyone together, not all were receptive. "What does she think she is doing?" a neighbor grumbled at the grocery store. Accusations of her trying to capitalize on the town's sparse resources flew, filling the air with thick tension. Friendships soured. Sarah felt like a storm brewing within her chest, the pressure to prove herself mounting. "Mom," Ben whispered, "don't give up. Remember the heroes? They stood tall when it got tough." Taking a deep breath, Sarah organized a town meeting. Faces grown cold, she glanced at familiar frowns. Just as her voice pierced the heavy silence, accusations erupted like firecrackers. "Sarah, you're just after the spotlight." The criticism cut deeper than any frostbite. Her chest tightened, emotions boiling. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that heart-wrenching moment, rising above her suffocating doubts, she recalled the stories she had shared. Every tale hinged on unity overcoming adversity, on togetherness pushing back against darkness. Would the community see it too? Would they join hands in shared hope and transformation? As tears welled up in her eyes, she stared into the crowd, searching for the spark of understanding amid the storm. Could they break the chains of division and embrace the richness within those ancient tales? The questions hung, heavy with anticipation, echoing through the trembling room. The room fell silent, but not in a way Sarah had hoped. She felt the weight of many eyes, filled with doubt and disbelief. She stood there, heart racing. Every legend she read aloud, every hero's journey, echoed in her mind like a battle cry. Hadn't those stories broken barriers and united families in the past? Why was it so difficult now? "Listen," she began, her voice trembling but determined. "These stories are not just echoes of the past. They are reminders of what we can do when we come together. The knights fought with courage, and they battled their fears. We can battle ours too." A slight movement from the back caught her attention. An elderly man, Mr. Campbell, known for his stern demeanor, raised his hand. "What do you want from us, Sarah? A distraction from our problems?" His tone was sharp, but there was a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. No, she replied, her voice stronger now. I want us to remember what it feels like to dream, to create, to she paused, the truth sinking in. To heal. I lost my dreams when my husband vanished. I'm still fighting to find them. These stories can help us. Allow us to imagine a world beyond our struggles. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The air shifted a bit, like the first hint of spring breaking through winter's chill. Are you saying we're supposed to gather around a fire and pretend everything is fine? Protested another familiar voice, one that had echoed support in other matters but now was clouded with skepticism. No, not pretend. To acknowledge our struggles but to also find a way to embrace them, Sarah said, her voice steady. When we connect with these stories, we connect with each other. Finally, she caught Ben's eyes, reflecting fierce belief. He stood up, leaning slightly forward, as if he were the hero stepping up to defend the castle. We've been reading about heroes, right? They face monsters. They battle through the dark times. Maybe we all have monsters we need to fight together? He was just a boy, but his voice rang true, cutting through the tension. A few faces softened as others nodded slowly. Suddenly, the room felt electric, a possible shift in the coldness surrounding them. Lily chimed in, bouncing with enthusiasm. And we can have like cool costumes. If we're gonna do events, we should all dress up. It'll be so much fun. Her innocent excitement was infectious, a small fire igniting the atmosphere. Laughter broke the ice. Sarah could feel it. The icebergs of resentment and doubt had started to crack, the warmth of acceptance shooting through. Yet the fight wasn't over. Mr. Campbell cleared his throat, inspecting the room before continuing. You really think this will work, Sarah? That we can just flip a switch and get back to how things used to be? We want to go back, Sarah insisted, her conviction unyielding. But we can move forward, together, like the legends reshaping our fate. It starts with the stories, with this community. We need hope. The murmurs turned into discussions, some voices rising to share their own ideas. With every shared thought, the room transformed from a battleground to a workshop of possibilities. But just as the momentum seemed to surge, a loud crash echoed outside the hall, cutting through the newfound hope. The townspeople fell silent, their expressions shifting once more to confusion and fear. What was that? Someone whispered. The worry seeped back into the walls of the building as everyone turned toward the door, uncertainty stretching the moment taut. Sarah's heart raced again, feeling the ominous whisper of fate. Whatever darkness is out there, she thought, we have to face it together. But what awaited them beyond that door? Before anyone could speak, the loud sound of splintering would followed by a guttural growl echoed through the hall. Sarah's stomach dropped. An icy chill swept over the crowd as they glanced at one another, exchanging fearful looks. The light-hearted discussions just moments ago faded into a thick silence, replaced by an almost tangible dread. Ben, stay close, Sarah whispered, instinctively moving toward him. His eager, hopeful expression from earlier now blanketed with worry. Finally, Mr. Campbell stood up again, though this time it was not with sarcasm. We need to see what's going on. Stay together, everyone. His voice was steadier than before, but it still held an edge of concern. The townspeople moved toward the door as a unified mass, despite the gnawing anxiety gnashing at their hearts. Sarah stepped gingerly to the front, leading the way outside with Ben at her side, gripping her hand tightly. Her whole body instinctively braced for whatever lay ahead as they pushed through the double doors. The growing murmur of the crowd filled Sarah's ears. The sky was a sickly gray, a storm brewing ominously above. Out in the square, they found the source of the disturbance. A massive tree had fallen, its trunk cracked and twisted. But it wasn't just the downed tree that held their attention. Standing near it was something that made their blood run cold. A creature was emerging from the underbrush, clawed, scraggly, dripping with remnants of frightened wildlife. It growled again, a low rumble that vibrated through their very bones. Is that real? Lily's voice trembled, peeking out from behind her mother's skirts. Sarah took a breath to steady herself. Fear twisted in the pit of her belly, but she knew they had to stand firm. That's a monster. But we're not powerless, she said, casting a determined glance back at the crowd. We're stronger together. This is our battle, just like in the stories. Mr. Campbell nodded, stepping forward. How do we fight it then, Sarah? With stories or with actions? I believe we can do both, she replied. Remember the tales of heroes facing darkness? They never fought alone. They called upon their community, their loves, their hopes. Let us remember that. The townspeople seemed galvanized by her words. With a collective nod, they formed a loose circle around the creature, edging closer together. I'll distract it, Ben shouted, raising a broken branch he had picked up. The bravery in his voice surprised everyone and sparked a shared courage. No, Sarah shouted, reaching for him. We need a plan. Fighting without thinking will only get you hurt. We need to draw it away to protect each other. Instinctively, various townspeople began gathering stones and branches, ready to arm themselves. Just then, Lily shouted, if we sing, just like in the stories. Monsters hate music. The suggestion caught Sarah off guard. Still, her heart fluttered with the idea. Yes, we'll sing. Who knows what power it might hold? A few brave voices tentatively chimed in, then gathered strength, as all began to sing a melody sweet yet haunting. The creature seemed taken aback, its growl lowering, confused by the sudden harmony. Yet, as the song swelled, chaos erupted. The ground began to tremble beneath their feet. Everything is coming down, someone screamed. Beyond the creature, the sky darkened even further, as if nature itself was rallying against them. Sarah's heart raced, but amidst the fear, a fierce resolve grew inside her. Whether it's monsters outside or in our hearts, we will fight together. We are stronger than our fear. The crescendo of their song rose, the creature momentarily dazed and the ground shook around them. But as the lights flickered and the world spun out of control, Sarah wondered what else awaited them in the shadows. Could hope truly emerge from despair even now? With uncertainty echoing in her mind, she grasped Ben's hand tighter, ready to face the unknown ahead. The air was thick with anticipation and fear as the townspeople stood their ground, voices soaring in a unified melody. It felt as if the very fabric of their reality was fraying at the edges. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest, each beat echoing her determination. The creature, now swaying slightly, suddenly turned its head, revealing bloodshot eyes and sharp, jagged teeth. "Keep singing!" she shouted, her voice almost lost in the rising tremor of the earth. The crowd, invigorated by her command, sang louder, filling the turbulent air with their song of hope. The ground shook violently, causing some of the younger children to stumble and cling to the legs of their parents, fear etched into their faces. Still, they pressed on, drawing strength from one another. Sarah caught a fleeting glance from Ben. He was terrified but held steadfast, his grip on her hand reinforced by courage. Suddenly, a massive crack split the air as another tree nearby fell, echoing like thunder. The creature, momentarily distracted, recoiled, letting out a shriek that sent chills down everyone's spine. The earth quaked beneath them, and Sarah felt a wave of panic wash over her. "We have to pull it away from the townsfolk," she cried. "To the creek," Mr. Campbell yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. "If we can get it to the water, maybe it will go back." With agreement palpable in the air, the townspeople intensified their song, now echoing their destination. One by one, they began to back away while keeping the creature focused on them. It stumbled, its claws scraping against the dirt, frustrated by their disruptive melody. "Keep moving backwards, but watch your feet," Sarah urged, her eyes darting between the creature and her friends, ensuring everyone was safe. With every backward step, they slowly led the creature toward the creek, a sanctuary of flowing water that owned the promise of safety. Just then, Ben tugged at Sarah's sleeve. "What if it catches up? What if it gets someone?" His blue eyes, wide with fear, twisted her heart into knots. "No, it won't," Sarah said, kneeling down to meet his gaze. "We're all together, remember? And we can't lose hope. It needs to feel our strength." Her words hung in the air, a thin thread connecting them. The words saturated her with warmth, even as the ground continued its unrest around them. They made it to the creek, where sunlight shimmered off the surface, a beacon of hope. The creature growled deeper now, the song of the townspeople fading into a more uncertain rhythm. As they reached the water's edge, an unexpected calm settled over the crowd. "We have to stop singing," Sarah called out. "It's confused now. Let us move back and prepare." The townspeople stepped away from the water, forming a barrier, weapons ready. Uncertainty flooded Sarah's heart. Had they overstepped in their bravado? Would the creature retaliate now that their song had ceased? With a surge of courage, Sarah took a step forward. She could feel the creature's stare piercing through her. This moment felt monumental. The weight of the possible consequences hung heavy in the air. "Listen," she yelled, her voice firm. "We didn't come here to fight this creature with fury, but with unity. We will not back down." A low growl erupted from the creature, and a sense of dread clawed at her insides. The townspeople behind her began to murmur, wavering at the edges of their resolve. But as the creature reared up, something shifted. It was something more than mere hostility. Something almost sorrowful? Sarah gasped, realizing she wasn't just looking at a monster. Perhaps this was a creature lost, a being in pain. Her heart ached with the thought. For a moment, the world around her quieted. What if it's not just a monster? She whispered to herself, fear mingling with empathy. What was it that proposed a true battle, power or understanding? She could feel the tension rise, and the eyes of the townspeople were upon her. Would they trust her instinct to find a different way? Her pulse raced, knowing the next step would change everything. The choice she faced lingered, haunting the very air and begging her to decide. Would she confront the creature with force or with compassion? As the weight of her decision loomed ahead, Sarah took a deep breath, ready to forge a new path. But would her choice save them all or condemn them? Sarah's mind raced, the silence around her magnifying the uncertainty she felt in her soul. She could hear the creature's heavy breathing, and it seemed to echo her own. She gazed into those sorrowful eyes again. It was as if they were trying to tell her something, a plea, a history, something buried deep beneath the layers of fear and instinct. "Please," she whispered, feeling the weight of her choice wrap around her. "Please don't attack." Just then, she recalled the stories told by the elders in town. Tales of creatures misunderstood, of fairy tales where monsters were guardians of something precious. Could this creature be one of those beings? As she stood there, contemplating, the townspeople behind her were still clustered in a tight circle, weapons raised, anxiously awaiting her command. They were scared, and rightfully so. But Sarah remembered her grandmother's warm smile, and her words a gentle reminder that love and understanding often triumphed over hate and fear. "Everyone, lower your weapons," she called out, her voice steady but laden with urgency. There was a collective gasp, and some whispered, unsure of her decision. Sarah turned, her heart thudding in every fiber of her being. "Trust me. We're not here to hurt it. We want to help." "What are you talking about?" shouted Mr. Campbell, disbelief mixed with alarm. "It could attack us any second." "I don't think it wants to," she replied, feeling a flicker of hope surge in her chest. "I can see something in its eyes, scared just like us." The creature, sensing the change in atmosphere, tilted its head as if listening. Its nostrils flared slightly. This moment felt electric, time stretching as if the world itself held its breath. "Sarah, think of the children." Ben tugged at her sleeve again, his fears echoing the thoughts of others. "What if it goes after them?" "I know," Sarah said, her voice softening, making sure he could hear both her fear and conviction. "But what if we can reach it? What if it needs us? We could pull it back from whatever abyss it's trapped within." She stepped closer, trembling but resolute. "I'll go first." Each word felt monumental, creating fissures of disbelief among the townsfolk. "Are you crazy?" scoffed a voice from the crowd. It was Mary, her anger rising. But deep down, there was a flicker of intrigue along with concern. Let us take a moment, Sarah encouraged, holding out her hands to the crowd. Instead of fighting, let us try understanding. A few grumbled, but the strength of her words cracked their fear. Slowly, Mr. Campbell lowered his weapon. Then a few others did the same, still cautious but curious. As she stepped forward, she could see the creature's hackles lowering. It still eyed her closely, the jagged teeth exposed but no longer a threat. Would it bite or would it break in front of her? Every instinct screamed in her mind, her gut compelling her to protect her own. "Please," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm here. We're here." As she took another step closer, the creature hesitated. Then it let out a low, mournful sound, a cry laced with something that tugged at Sarah's heart. The townspeople gasped collectively, realizing perhaps they were not facing a monster after all. The creature's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, emotions they had never expected to behold. "I want to help you," Sarah pleaded. "Can you show me?" And then, a moment of connection flickered between them, fragile yet powerful. Could there be a way to bridge the gap between their worlds? What truth awaited her on the other side of fear? But just as understanding began to unfold, a distant rumble echoed in the background and shattered the fragile truce that hung in the air. A new threat loomed on the horizon, merciless and unforgiving. What now? Sarah wondered, dread pooling in her stomach. Could her choice to foster compassion save them all or lead them deeper into chaos? The earth seemed to shudder beneath Sarah's feet, the ground vibrating as the ominous rumble grew louder. She turned to the townspeople, their faces twisted with a mixture of fear and confusion. It was clear they were on the brink of panic again, and Sarah felt the weight of the looming threat pressing down on her shoulders like a storm cloud. "Stay calm," she yelled, the urgency in her voice cutting through the tension. "We need to stick together. We can't let fear take over." But the townsfolk were already fidgeting, murmurs of worry weaving through the group. Ben's grip on her arm tightened, his wide eyes reflecting a mix of fear and disbelief. "What's happening?" he asked, searching her face for reassurance. "I don't know," she admitted, but something deep within her shivered with instinct. The creature before her sensed the approaching danger, its expression shifting from sorrow to alertness. It stood taller, muscles coiled like springs, ready to react. The air thickened, and just as the thunderous sound seemed to crescendo, figures emerged at the edge of the tree line. Dark silhouettes, moving swiftly through the shadows, their presence a stark contrast to the fragile hope that Sarah had just kindled. "Stay back," Mr. Campbell shouted, swinging his weapon back up, others following his lead as fear clawed at their hearts once more. "No," Sarah cried, her voice trembling. "We need to see who they are. We can't attack blindly." The tension soared, but the creatures emerging from the woods had an aura of heat and anger, their eyes glittering with hostility. They looked much like the ones standing before her, but their posture was aggressive, and Sarah sensed that any movement would set them off. "Then what do we do?" Mary's voice quivered with uncertainty. "If they attack, we have to protect ourselves." The creature next to Sarah growled low, its gaze shifting back and forth, evaluating. It seemed to weigh its options, caught between instinct and what it had now seen from Sarah's heart. Could it sense her desire to help? "Please, just trust me," Sarah whispered to it, hoping her sincerity would reach beyond words. "They're scared just like you. Help me help us." In that moment, something shifted in the creature's demeanor. It lowered its head slightly, its growl becoming a low rumble that resonated with both the townsfolk and the approaching beings. The connection was undeniable. It was as if they communicated without uttering another word. Then chaos erupted. A figure leapt forward from the trees, claws extended, lunging at the creature beside Sarah. "Get down," Sarah shouted, instinctively throwing herself in front of it. The two creatures collided, a whirlwind of fur and fury. Claws grazed the air, and a powerful growl echoed, sending shockwaves through the townspeople. Sarah's heart thundered as she watched the once sorrowful creature transform into a formidable guardian. "Now is the time to act," she called out, rallying the terrified villagers. "We need to support it, not fight against it." Gathering her courage, Sarah bounded into the fray. The confusion of battle danced around her, but her focus remained on the creature she had reached out to only moments before. "Help it! Together!" she shouted, breaking out of her daze. Townspeople hesitated, but one by one, they recognized the desperate need for unity. They stepped forward, raising their weapons not as weapons but as shields as Sarah moved. A flash of understanding captivated her. She realized the creature needed them to step outside their fears. It was not just about saving itself but about forging a bond stronger than any division. Just then, a massive roar cut through the chaos, louder than the rumble that had signaled this approaching tempest. Something even larger than the conflict at hand was about to reveal itself. What else is coming? Sarah thought, dread pooling back into her gut. The instinct for preservation stirred once more. Could they turn the tide and form a united front? Or did they face annihilation from forces they couldn't comprehend? The ground continued to tremble, an unsettling reminder of the danger lurking just out of sight. The dark silhouettes shifted, shadows dancing with an energy of their own. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, a reminder that time was slipping away. "Get ready," Mr. Campbell barked, eyes scanning for movement, and Sarah felt the tension coiling tighter within her. The creature beside her, now fully engaged, stood like a bulwark, ready to defend them all. There was a loyalty in its stance, an unspoken promise to protect. Then, from the tree-line, the creatures lunged forward. They moved faster than Sarah thought possible. Fear swept through the villagers like a river torrent, but Sarah scanned their faces, searching for that glimmer of resolve. She could feel it, a moment suspended in time where courage could rise like a phoenix from fear. "Stand your ground," Sarah yelled, summoning every ounce of strength in her voice. "We're not alone in this. We can't back down." The creature beside her let out a primal roar, sending ripples of determination through the group. That sound, fierce and unyielding, ignited something in the townspeople. A fire flickered in their eyes, pushing aside the panic. One by one, they adjusted their grips on whatever they held. Their fear transformed into a fragile but potent bravery as two of the hostile figures lunged for the creature. Sarah felt a surge within her, a strong urge to reach out. "Now!" she shouted, and the townspeople moved as a unit, rushing forward in response to her call. The clash was immediate and loud. Sarah ducked and weaved through the fray, her heart racing as she found herself next to Ben. His face was a mask of determination, and before she could speak, he nodded at her, ready to protect. Together, they stood shoulder to shoulder, drawing on the strength of the community around them. The creature fought valiantly, its strength becoming a linchpin in the struggle. Uniting, they formed a barrier against the advancing threat. But the sound of roars multiplied, a cacophony of chaos that signaled not just a single army, but legions. More figures poured from the trees, and dread twisted in Sarah's gut again. It was becoming evident they were facing something far more formidable than they had anticipated. "Sarah." Ben's voice cut through the clamor, filled with urgency. "There are too many of them. We can't hold out much longer." She glanced back, seeing the fear creeping back into their eyes, the unity beginning to fray. The creature was starting to struggle, fighting against overwhelming odds. "No," she whispered, clenching her fists. "We won't give up. We need to fight together. Focus on one at a time. Take your shots when the moment is right." Just then, a flicker of movement caught her eye. One of the dark figures was pulling back, trying to flank them. It was a calculated move, and Sarah recognized the advantage, her mind racing. "Ben. With me." We cut off their approach. Together, they broke from the pack, their instincts guiding them like a well-honed machine, every step calculated. Sarah felt a sense of purpose wash over her. They still had a chance, if they could redirect the tide. But as they closed the distance, the ground heaved again beneath them. Sarah stumbled as something massive broke through the tree line, larger than life. A monstrous figure emerged, radiating an aura that sent shivers down her spine. "What kind of nightmare is this?" she gasped, heart racing as she took in the creature, realizing they might be on the brink of a new, terrifying stage of conflict. Could they still band together, or had they now unleashed something they could never hope to defeat? The monstrous figure stepped forward, each earth-shaking stomp echoing like thunder. Its eyes glowed with an intensity that pierced through the fear gripping Sarah's heart. This was no ordinary creature. It was a titan, embodying raw power and wild chaos. The air seemed to crackle around it, charged with impending doom. "Sarah, we need to retreat," Ben shouted over the chaos, dread painted across his face. But something deep inside her resisted that idea. This was the moment they had prepared for. They couldn't turn back now. They had to confront this nightmare, not run from it. "No, we fight," she screamed, rallying her voice amidst the turmoil. "We stand together." Around her, the townspeople hesitated, their courage wavering under the weight of the colossal creature's presence. Sarah could see their resolve fading faster than the light of day. She reached out, choking back the panic trying to claw at her throat. "Look at us," she implored, determination dripping from her words. "We've made it this far together. We're stronger than our fears. Do you see it? That creature isn't just a beast. It's a symbol of everything trying to tear us apart." The creature beside her let out another thunderous roar that rallied the villagers. Little by little, they began to lift their heads, the flickers of hope reigniting as they found comfort in their shared purpose. The Titan was terrifying, yes, but so were their fears. Not facing this battle could bring doom of its own. And as she stood her ground, Sarah glanced at Ben. His expression was one of fierce resolve, but there was something else, something glimmering in his eyes. An urge surged within her. She wasn't alone in this fight, and neither were they. "Everyone, use the strength you have. Let it become a part of you," she yelled. The villagers began to chant, the sounds swelling like a tide, a rhythm of defiance that intertwined their hearts. Suddenly, in the midst of their united front, the Titan paused. It seemed to feel their bond, a strange stillness settling for just a heartbeat. As if sensing the power of their collective courage, it raised its massive head, letting out a deep throaty roar that echoed through the trees. "Now!" Sarah shouted, fearlessly leading the charge. She spearheaded the wave of adrenaline-fueled bravery as she closed in on the gigantic beast. With every step, she felt the ground solidifying beneath them, becoming a symbol of their determination and bond. Around her, the villagers charged forward, weapons drawn. Some of them wielded pitchforks, others makeshift clubs, and even their bare hands. It didn't matter. They were charging because they had made a choice. "Stay focused. Aim for the legs," she yelled, directing her neighbors with precise urgency. They were a symphony of movement now, a single unit coordinated against the overwhelming odds. Then, without warning, the Titan swung one of its massive arms like a tree crashing down. Sarah ducked just in time, the force of its movement sending a shockwave through the air that knocked her off her feet. The world spun for a moment, and her heart raced as she pushed herself up. She saw the creature crashing into the front line, the villagers stumbling but fighting back. They had to hold on. Was this the turning point? Had they momentarily glimpsed a chance to defeat their fate? But amidst the chaos, a darker shadow loomed just beyond the Titan, waiting patiently ready to strike when least expected. What other horrors waited in the darkness? And could they withstand this upcoming test of their unity? The moment Sarah scrambled to her feet, adrenaline pumped through her veins. She scanned the frantic energy of her neighbors. They were caught in a dance of fear and bravery, pushing forward despite the Titan's formidable presence. She took a deep breath, grounding herself against the chaos that threatened to engulf them all. "Keep pushing. We can't stop," Sarah shouted between gasps, her voice breaking through the noise. Around her, villagers fought valiantly, their determination riding on the crest of each swing, each thrust they made. A wave of unity surged through them, battling the tides of despair washing over their hearts. But then, from the corner of her eye, Sarah caught a glimpse of movement, something more sinister lurking within the shadows. It was another creature, smaller than the Titan but just as terrifying. Shadows twisting into form, glinting with malicious intent. It darted at the edges, slipping in and out of sight, ready to pick off the unsuspecting and sow further disarray. "Behind you!" she cried out instinctively, pointing towards the encroaching darkness. The villagers turned, their faces showing a mixture of shock and newfound fear. Ben's voice rang out, commanding and strong. "We can take them both. Together." There was a light in his eyes, a flicker of hope that anchored them in the storm. Focusing on the Titan, Sarah streamlined her thoughts. "Aim for what you can reach." She yelled to the villagers. "Now we fight back against all of it. Let us show them who we are." The Titan swung its massive fists again, and two villagers dodged just in time, their breath hitching in their throats. For a split second, dread gripped Sarah's heart, but she pushed it aside. They were a force. Every decibel of their collective will echoed back, pushing fear away from their minds, like a tide washing away the sand. Another roar reverberated, not just from the Titan but echoing emotionally in every heart present. They were all warriors in spirit now. "Sarah." Ben's voice broke through her focus. "The smaller one, it's attacking from behind." In that moment, her body reacted as if fueled by instinct. She turned, grabbing a makeshift weapon, a stout branch abandoned by a fleeing villager. "We'll divide our eyes," she shouted, rallying the others. "Some of us distract the Titan, and the rest will flank the shadow." With a nod of understanding, the villagers began to position themselves. A wave of energy rolled over them, a shared resilience burning bright against the darkness threatening to extinguish their hope. They charged in all directions, dancing around the Titan while their numbers split, drawing attention away from the shadow creeping closer. "Now!" Sarah screamed, lunging toward the Titan's nearest leg with all the strength she could muster. The crack of her branch against its hide resonated as a mark of defiance, and others joined her, their strikes igniting sparks against the colossal beast. But just as victory seemed possible, the shadow surged through the ranks, consuming joy. It attacked like a venomous winter wind, each villager's heart failing to comprehend the cold despair it pushed them to the edge. Twisting, Sarah saw the fear etched into her neighbors' faces, each one battling a different enemy within. Would they be strong enough to face both threats? Did they believe they could overcome this? The answer loomed within her, a flicker of faith that could either ignite or extinguish their final hope. As their cries harmonized, Sarah felt the weight of the impending clash. The darkness awaited, and so did their fragile unity. Would courage rise to meet them? And then, from the shadows, she glimpsed something flashing a glimmer of light, like a beacon. What did it mean? Could it be the key to their survival? Just as the weight of despair settled over her, Sarah felt something stir deep within her. The glimmer of light pierced through the shadows, illuminating the chilling dread that had clasped around her heart. It was a reflection of hope, but could they harness it? This was their moment. "Everyone!" Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Look, that light! It's a sign." The villagers turned, hesitant at first but drawn by the flickering brilliance that seemed to beckon them. "If we focus on the light, we can push back the darkness together." Ben stood alongside her, nodding fiercely, the determination in his small frame shining bright. "We've made it this far. Now is the time to unite, share the light." His innocence and unwavering spirit bore the weight of 1,000 words, igniting a spark in the hearts of the townspeople. Slowly, one by one, they rallied, raising their makeshift weapons, now transformed from objects of fear to symbols of hope. The Titan paused, sensing the shift as the villagers began to move as one. The air throbbed with unity, their fears melting away in the glow of the promise of strength. "We have to trust each other, trust in our light," Sarah called out, her heart swelling with fierce resolve. And then the villagers broke into a chant, a harmonious melody that filled the space around them. Each note resonated with possibility, merging into a crescendo of collective determination. They sang not just of courage, but of the bond that had woven them together in this fight. The shadows twisted and writhed at the edges of the village square, the darkness struggling against the brightness they created. For every flicker of fear, a surge of hope countered it. Sarah could feel it in the air, the power of their unity giving life to their courage, urging them forward. "Let us face it, together." Sarah shouted, leading the charge as they pushed toward the center of the darkness. The light seemed to swell with their conviction, pushing against the figure lurking at the periphery. As the villagers advanced, they witnessed the tendrils seek to wrap around them, only to disintegrate against the power of their resolve. The giant titan, still harboring an air of cruelty, hesitated, now unsure of itself, caught between two forces. Faced with the emanating light of humanity's spirit, it let out a deep rumble that shook the ground beneath them, but with less menace than before, a hesitant growl, indicating a shift in its bear-like demeanor. "Now, attack!" Sarah commanded, and as one, they surged forward. Angling their weapons, the townspeople struck true, directing their energy toward the exposed underbelly of the titan, as it lowered its massive frame instinctively. In that striking moment, clarity sprouted, a realization that they weren't merely fighting to protect their homes but also to reclaim their dreams, their hopes, as well as the mythical bonds that intertwined every heart in Maplewood. With powerful strikes, they pressed on, driving back the titan with resolve. And as their focus intensified, the shadow menace felt their fortitude and began to dissipate, broken down layer by layer by the undeniable force of light that had come to life among them. "Together!" Ben cried, echoing the sentiment that had ignited a flame within them all. The townsfolk pushed forward, and with a climactic roar, the titan collapsed, drawn back into the depths of the earth. Silence enveloped them as the shadows shrank, then vanished entirely, leaving only the glimmer of warmth and unity behind. Sarah fell to her knees, breathless with disbelief. Around her, the people of Maplewood exchanged glances filled with astonished joy. Relief washed over the community like a warm spring rain. They were victorious not just over the threats outside but the fears within them. Mr. Campbell stepped forward, with a proud gleam in his eye. "You did it, Sarah. You brought us back from the edge." Laughter and tears mingled in the square, flooding limbs with a jubilant pulse. "I didn't do it alone," Sarah exclaimed, beaming at the villagers who had fought beside her. "This was all of us. We all fought our darkness." It was a moment where time felt infinite, where they stood together as a community reborn. The children clung to their parents, pride shining in their wide eyes, while the adults, once burdened with every fear, now smiled brighter than the sun breaking through the clouds. With a collective unveiling of dreams and wounds healed in the aftermath, Sarah thought of her late grandmother and the stories that had rekindled their lost joys. "We'll continue to share these stories," she promised, her heart full. "Together." And then, as if the universe itself was celebrating their triumph, a soft wind swept through, weaving through branches and whispering a promise of new beginnings. "Maplewood," Sarah called out again, standing tall. "Let us create a new legend, a tale of hope reborn from despair." As warmth enveloped them like a comforting blanket, Sarah held onto Ben tightly. In that moment, transforming the past into a better future, the bonds of their legacy deepened, driven by the belief that every heart, bound together, could overcome even the darkest nights. Now, standing together under the shimmering canvas of dusk, they cherished their bond like the most precious treasure. This was their moment. Do you want more powerful stories and impactful journeys? Then you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss out on the next exclusive tales that will inspire and transform you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more people discover their own path of courage. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You can be the spark that ignites their hope. Don't wait not even one more second. True supporters understand how vital your actions are to keep this community alive and thriving.